We'll move on then, and it's my pleasure to introduce you now to David Pardoe, which is from the MRC Technologies based in London. He will explain us about what MRC Technologies is exactly better than me, and specifically he will talk about the Dementia Consortium, which is an initiative at the MRC, which I think will be extremely interesting for many of us present here. So thank you, Dave, for being here, and welcome to Alicante.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the organisers for inviting me to come along and share with you some of the experiences that we've picked up in trying to create something that's not particularly dissimilar to the vertical that Juan Carlos has just described. Before I get going, I thought I should tell you a little bit about MRC Technology. We were established in the year 2000 out of the UK's Medical Research Council. We're a not-for-profit, we're a charity, we're independent of anybody. We have about 140 staff. Proper scientists make up about half of those. And these are the scientists that have come out of pharma, as Juan Carlos alluded to. The other half of our organization is made up of technology transfer managers, IP and legal experts, and also commercial experts. So together, we can translate breakthrough academic science into something that industry finds less risky and more appealing. And in that way, we help to deliver the patient-centric approach from research. Perhaps the most important thing, we're incredibly lucky because we're self-funding. Problems here. Good, thank you. Since 2000, we have helped to generate over £40 billion of revenue for ourselves and shared with pharma companies, but also shared with universities and academics. To do that, we created 400 licenses, 18 startup companies, including CAT and Dementia. And we've launched 4 blockbuster drugs. And it's a revenue share off these drugs that keeps us going. Our latest one is Keytruda, pembrolizumab, recently launched from Merck for melanoma and non-small cell lung cancer. And it's that money that we recycle to be able to translate academic research into opportunities for development inside pharma companies. But that's enough about MRCT. I wanted to encapsulate our problem we're talking about today in a slightly different way. I've entitled it, we really should do something about neuro. Because in the last 20 years, there have been 127 clinical trials for dementia, but only 4 of them have yielded any new drugs. And in the last 10 years, there's been nothing that's brand new. And in 2015, there were nearly 47 million people globally suffering from dementia. That's the population of Spain. And the cost to society was $818 billion US. So if we put that into context, if dementia was a country, it would be the 18th largest economy in the world. It would represent 1% of global GDP. And if it was a company, it'd be bigger than Apple. But more frighteningly, by 2030, there'll be nearly 75 million people with Alzheimer's disease. And that will have a global cost of over $2 trillion US. So that takes us to the point where we really must do something about neurodegeneration. So moving on to what we did about it goes back to 2013. And there's a guy you might remember used to be a politician called David Cameron. And he made a quote at the G8 summit. And he said, we'd like a cure to be available for dementia by 2025. And he finished it off with, it's a big, big ask. Yeah, it is a big, big ask. It's a massive ask by 2025. So we created the Dementia Consortium as part of that global response that was called for at the G8 summit. Its purpose is to build a collaborative environment where we can validate targets and projects coming out from academia. This is going back to that reproducible bit that Juan Carlos just talked about, to make sure that research is robust enough so that pharma can't say no or don't want to say no to the opportunity. And it's also to bring together charities, industry, and academia so we can accelerate development and discovery of new therapeutics. And we did it because it can be really tough to get funding in this area. And we also did it because pharma are being pulled away from the challenging neurodegeneration areas because it's cheaper, and I use this word carefully, easier to be able to work in oncology or in a therapeutic area where you've got clear clinical endpoints and you've got great biomarkers and diagnostics. There are 7 partners in the Dementia Consortium. We started off with just 4. It was Alzheimer's Research UK, MRCT, Lilly, and ASI. The end of last year and the start of this year, 3 more companies joined us. That's Aztecs, MSD, and AbbVie. And together, we've created a fund of £4.5 million that we're spending over a period of 3 years to drive forwards academic research into pharmaceutical company projects. The whole idea is that it should be a collaboration. So we're going to share that cost of translation. In that way, we can get more done. But we're also going to share our insights and our knowledge, so ensure the projects we select are the right ones. And we have 4 key commitments within the consortium. Firstly, to identify world-class research, no matter where it comes from. Invest in the most promising projects. Initiate the collaborative drug discovery programs, and that leads us to be able to accelerate new dementia research approaches. I'm having problems here again, guys. Okay. So what are we looking for? We're looking for novel targets in any area of neurodegeneration and dementia, generated by scientists at any academic institute. They need to be early stage, but not really early stage. Give us something to go on in the way of evidence that suggests what the mechanism is going to be or what the disease association is. And we'll consider all approaches. We have a preference for small molecules, but we're not against biologics, proteins, MABs, tools. Anything goes. And what we give that is access to MRCT and our funding partners' resources and knowledge. The outcome is validated novel targets that are going to be attractive to industry, that get picked up and moved on. And because of that, our industrial partners provide the opportunity to take those into the clinic. And if a project is successful, we're all going to share in the upside of that. As it turns out, our contribution compared to the cost of taking a drug to market is small, so don't set your expectations too high. But nonetheless, there will be a flow of cash back into the institute and back into the academic. So, how do we go about this? The first thing I want to make absolutely clear is please talk to us, because we want to help and we're here to help. If you've got projects that you think could go through the Dementia Consortium, get online and talk to us. The selection process is in 2 stages, both of which consider IP, commercial, legal, scientific, as you would expect. But our intention going through this process, which can take up to 18 months, is that we all collaborate together to be able to get the project through. And that's why it's important at the beginning to make sure you're talking to us. A little more detail as we dive down into the process. We start off with a non-confidential disclosure of interest form. We will help you write this. We will help you pull that together. We'll tell you where the gaps are so that they can be filled before submitting the form. And that then goes into a triage process, of which there are about 6 a year. And if you get through triage, so your target is novel, you've got some interesting science, it's believable, it's robust, then it goes into the full application process. And for this, we're going to have a confidential disclosure, so we're going to put the paperwork in place to protect you there. Those take place every 3 to 4 months. So if you like, 2 triage meetings go into 1 filter meeting, most commonly. And at this second stage, we're really looking at a really close collaboration between the academics, industry partners, MRCT, and the charities. So we can get the scientific rationale sorted out, we can do a detailed experimental and a costing plan. On getting through filter, we do a feasibility study. Have we made the right decision? Does the experimentation actually work? Can we secure access to materials? And we pull together the agreements between the TTOs and ourselves to be able to do a full-blown project at the end. When we get to the end of feasibility and we have a go, then the project really kicks off in earnest. And they're designed to last about 2 years. But if we fail to hit milestones, the project will be stopped, because we're spending money here that has come in largely from normal people in the street. And we have a responsibility to not missell their money. Am I doing for time? Fine. So very quickly, just go over the last couple of slides. Our intention is to be collaborative at all times. We want to make this work with you. We will publish results, but only after we have protected those results. And we will generate preclinical validation of targets. So proof of concept in accepted animal models, target modulation, tools and reagents. And a note on IP and commercialization. The funding partners put their money in order to get a license, a non-exclusive license, to use the results of that experimentation. They do not get access to any of the materials generated. But what we do offer them is an option to negotiate that full license later on. And what we're now starting to talk as we move through projects and we come to the end of some of them, we're starting to realize that the partners want to work together. So we've had to introduce this idea of a co-exclusive license. On top of that, we're seeing people actually setting up joint project teams between the funding partners. And for pharma, that is a massive step towards an open innovation environment. So our achievements to date. We've generated about 5.2 million euros. It might be a bit less than that now because the pound's not doing very well. And we've evaluated 79 projects across a range of areas. Of those, only 5 have made it through. So we are looking for really robust and reproducible science. The Dementia Consortium should come to an end in March 2017. But we're in the process at the moment of extending that for a further year to give us time to talk about a Dementia Consortium 2, which will be even broader and involve more partners, including more charities as well as more industry members. So I hope you've seen that Dementia Consortium is one of the mechanisms that we can help academic science get through to organizations and the pharma industry, because without the pharma industry, it's never getting to the patient. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'll take any questions if there's time.